Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today we have to start this example 11.2, and in this example we will actually see that how we can use some of the heuristics to calculate the unknown parameters, or how we can use some of the heuristics to calculate the size of the equipment. Okay, so let us see what we have in this example. Refer to the information given in chapter 1 for the toluene hydrodealkylation process, namely figure 1.7, table 1.5 and 1.7. Using the information provided in the tables in this chapter, estimate the size of the equipment and other operating parameters for the following equipments. Okay, so what we're gonna do here, now we have to estimate the size of these equipments. We have vessel here, we have a heat exchanger, we have a pump, then we have column, then we can have some tower, then we can have some heater. Okay, so we have these six equipments on which we have to calculate the size, and we have to calculate what are the different operating parameters necessary for these equipment. And in today's lecture we will actually see that how we can actually use the heuristics to get the information in terms of size and operating parameters one by one, and we will see all of these all the heuristics relevant to each of the equipment, and we will see that how we can calculate. Compare your findings with the information given in the chapter 11. Now, if I show you this example here, basically we are talking about this process here, which is the toluene hydrodealkylation process, and this is a figure. This is basically the figure 1.7, and then we have some tables here. 1.5 table, it basically represents you the temperature, pressure, flow rate, and the component flow rates of each of the component in this benzene process. Then we have another table 1.7, in which we can see different heat exchangers, we can see different vessels, and we can see what are the different equipment types, and the temperature and the pressure conditions. Also, for the vessels, towers and reactors, we are provided with the information on the size, height by length ratio, diameter, and so on. And in terms of compressors and pumps, we have these equipments, and this is the information in terms of flow rate, density, and the other requirements that we need to have in the process. Okay, so we will use these two tables and one figure, and apart from this one we will use some of the heuristics which are present in this example. Okay, so if you go forward in this presentation, you would see different tables of heuristics. Okay, like for example table 11.3, it is about the capacities of the process units. Then we can have typical materials of construction. If you move forward, you can have the heuristics on the driver and the pump recovery equipment. So depending on each of the equipment that we have in the flow sheet, you can find the relevant heuristics. So here is you would find the heuristics for the drivers and maybe the large machines, and maybe you can also find some heuristics on the pumps here. Okay, how you can calculate the overall efficiency, shaft power. Then in terms of the process vessels or the drums, you will find some of the heuristics. So we are going to use this one today also in the example. Similarly, you can find the heuristics on the vessels, pressure, and the storage drums. And if you move forward, you can have like heuristics on the piping, and then maybe you can find the heuristics on the compressor, fans, floors, on the heat exchangers. So for each of the equipment that we have in the flow sheet, we will find the relevant heuristics, and today we will solve some of the units here that are provided in the example, and we will use some of the heuristics from the given table to find down the unknown parameters or the size of the equipments. So let us start with this one. So here is the process flow diagram, and the first unit that we have to consider, it is the V102, which is the vessel 102. So where is this one? So basically this one is the vessel 102, which is the name of this one is a high pressure phase separator. So the name of this one is high pressure phase separator, which is a type of vessel. And to solve this system, we will use the heuristics for the vessel. Now how we can actually use this one, let us see. Okay, so let us start from here. V102, it is the high pressure phase separator. Now if you're dealing with some kind of vessel which can be high pressure phase separator, then we have to use the table 11.6. We use the following heuristics. So we will go to 11.6 table. Okay, so this is the table here about the vessel, and we will see that how each of the heuristic can contribute in finding out the unknown value. Okay, now let us see the rule here. Rule number 3, this is a vertical vessel. So if you look at the flow sheet also, that vessel that you can see there, that is a vertical vessel. So rule number 3, gas liquid phase separators are usually vertical. So if you are separating the gas out of liquid, so most of the vessels that you would see, it is vertical. Then rule number 4, length to diameter ratio between 2.5 and 5 with an optimum value of 3.0. So the rule number 4, it will say the same thing. Optimum length to diameter ratio, it should be between 3. But the range can vary from 2.5 to 5. So we have to see each of them one by one. Number 5 rule, liquid hold up time is 5 minutes based on half volume of the vessel. So you can see the same heuristic here. Hold up time is 5 minutes for half full if the drum is half full, and the gas liquid separator, it is 5 to 10 minutes for the product feeding another tower. Okay, so there are two things. If the tower is or the drum is half full, the hold up time is 5 minutes, and for the gas liquid separators it can be between 5 to 10 minutes. So the same thing we have mentioned here in the rule number 5. You can see this one. Then the rule number 9, it would say gas velocity is given by this equation. So you can go down here. You would find the heuristics for estimating the gas velocity in the gas liquid separator. So the equation that we can use in this example, it is a U equal to K under root density of liquid divided by density of vapor minus 1, and the units for this one, it is a meter per second, or it can be. Now here the constant for evaluating the gas velocity in the gas liquid separator, the equation is U equal to K under root density for liquid divided by density for vapor minus 1 meter per second, or it can be in the feet per second. So 0.11 meter per second, or in feet it can be 0.35. For the systems with mesh D entrainer, and K would be equal to 0.0305 meter per second without the mesh D entrainer. Okay, so if you go back to the figure here, you would see that in this diagram you would see this one in this column. This is a splash plate, but there is no information about the D entrainer. Okay, so we would consider that there is no D entrainer for the liquid for the vapor and gas and liquid separator. So we can come back here again. Okay, so we can see this one, K would be equal to 0.305 without mesh D entrainer. So we would consider that we are using the vessel without mesh entrainer. Okay, so the value for this K is 0.0305. We can take from here. Okay, now the rule number 12, the good performance obtained at 30 to 100% of U from rule number 9, typical value is 75%. Okay, so here you can see this rule also. Good performance can be expected at velocities 30 to 100% of those calculated with the given K. 75% is popular. So overall 75% value you have to choose for the velocities that you calculate for the value for K. So we will see this one, how we can use this one. Okay, now from table 1.5 we have vapor flow rate, and we can have the liquid flow rate. So now you have to go to table 1.5. So the table 1.5, it basically gives you the flow rates of different streams from this benzene hydrodealkylation process. As we are considering this vessel here, okay, so which vessel we are considering here? This one, right? 102. Okay, so from this vessel we can see that the vapors, they are going up in the stream number 8, and there will be liquid that would be going down in this lower column. Okay, so the liquid that is going down, it would be equal to the flow rate that we get from 18 and the 17 stream. Okay, so the liquid flow, it will be equal to 17 and 18 stream, and then you can get the flow rate from this table 1.5. Similarly, the vapor flow rate, the vapors which are going up from this column, stream number 8. So you can see the table here, stream number 8, you would find the value for the mass flow rate 9.2 tons per hour. So you can convert this one into the kg per hour, that will make 9200 kg per hour. The pressure, it is given here, and then the temperature, it is also given here. For the liquid flow rate, you have to add up 17 and 18 straight. So the total flow rate will be equal to 11,570 kg per hour, and the pressure, it is given here 2.8 bar and 38 degrees centigrade. Okay, now you can also estimate the value for the density for the vapor and the density for liquid from the table 1.7. Now from this table 1.7, what you can see here, you can actually find out the density for the vapor. That could be the vapors that are going to the compressor, or you can use simply the ideal gas equation to estimate this density. And the same is the case with density for the liquid. If you can get it from this table, it's fine. Otherwise, if you are having the information about the component flow rates, then you can use the density of each of the component, and then you can estimate the density for the liquid mixture that is going into the bottom stream. Okay, so now we have the density for the vapor and the density for the liquid from this table. From rule number 9, we get u. So let's go back to rule number 9 here. Okay, now the rule number 9 here, it is telling you gas velocity in gas liquid separators, it is equal to u equal to k density for liquid divided by density for the vapor minus 1. And here we have this equation, so we're going to use this equation now. So the value for the k that we have selected earlier for the mesh without the entrainer, so we can have 0.0305 for the k. We have the value for the density for the liquid. We have here, we know what is the density for the vapor, and then we can solve this equation. So the velocity for the gas that we get from this equation or the heuristic, it is 0.313 meter per second. Now what would be the actual value for the velocity from this heuristic? So we have seen this one from the rule number 12 here. Good performance can be expected at velocity 30 to 100% of those calculated with the given k. So 75% is the popular, so we can multiply this velocity with the 75% here. So the actual velocity, it can be 0.23 meter per second. Now we have to estimate what is the mass flow rate of the vapor. How we can calculate this one? So we have to simply use the equation for estimating the mass flow rate. So density times the volumetric flow rate. And in volumetric flow rate, you know, the velocity can be multiplied with the area. Okay, so you have the velocity, density for the vapor, and the area. So you can have this, you can solve this equation, that is equal to 9200 divided by 3600. So the mass flow rate you would get here 2.56 kg per second. Now we have to calculate what should be the value for the diameter of the vessel. Like we can get this value for the mass flow rate from the table 1.5, and then we can actually use the flow rate of the stream number 8, which was 2.56 kg per second, and we can simplify this equation to get the value for the diameter, that comes out to be 1.33 meter. Now we have to see another rule here. From rule number 5, we have volume of the liquid. So let's see what we have in the rule number 5. So liquid hold up time is 5 minutes for the half full reflux drum and gas liquid separators, 5 to 10 minutes for the product feeding another tower. So we are dealing with the first part here. So it is 5 minutes. So what we are going to do here for the half full. So for the half full, we can have the value here 0.5, and then we can have the equation for the volume calculation for the vessel. So that is pi r square multiplied by L, and then we can have this equation. We can simplify this one, so that comes out to be 0.726 liter per meter cube. Okay, now we have to estimate what should be the flow rate in 5 minutes. So we can simply calculate the volumetric flow rate of the liquid from this vessel. So you can simply use this equation for the volumetric flow rate, and we can get the value for the overall volume. Now here the volume we get here, it is 1.13 meter cube, and then we can compare this volume with this one to get the value for the L. Now how you can actually get this value for the L here? So equating the two results above, we get L, that is equal to 1.56. Okay, so you can multiply the L with 1.56, so you can get the value for this one, 1.13. So you can simultaneously solve these two equations to get the value for the L. Now let us see that how we can actually calculate the length of this tower. From rule number 4, we have L by D should be in the range of 2.5 to 5. For our case, L by D it is equal to 1.56 divided by 1.33. So 1.56 we have calculated just now, and 1.33 we have already calculated the diameter. So the ratio that we get now, it is 1.17. However, this is not a correct value, because we know that the ratio should be between 2.5 to 5. Because this is out of range, we should change the value of L. Okay, so you can rearrange this equation in this form: L by D, that is equal to 2.5, and then you can rearrange the equation to get the new value for the length, that comes out to be 3.3 meter. Heuristics from table 11.6 suggests that V102 should be the vertical vessel with the diameter 1.33 and length that is equal to 3.3. Okay, so once we have the diameter, we can estimate the length here, and if you calculate the ratio between the L by D, it comes out to be 2.5. And now from table 1.7, we see that the actual V102 is the vertical vessel with the diameter 1.1 meter and length, it should be equal to 3.5 meters. So if you go back in the table 1.7, like this table that we actually get from the benzene hydrodealkylation process, here you would see the vessel 102, and here you would see the size of this one. The size of this one, it is height by length, and then you can actually have the value for the diameter here. So the value for the diameter, it is 1.1 that we see here, and we have calculated the diameter 1.33. The length that we have calculated here, it is equal to 3.5. Okay, now we are getting the value for the length, that is equal to 3.3. so now you can see actually how much close values we get for the length and the diameter directly by using the heuristics, and then we can actually compare the heuristics value from the actual data that we have from the plant, and we see that the values, these are very close to the actual values. So this is one of the like major advantage of using the heuristics, that we can actually use some shortcut techniques to get the valuable information about the equipments or for different processes. Now let us solve the part B of the question 11.2. Now we have to consider the product cooler, which is E105. So if we look at this equipment E105 in this diagram, we can see that it would be E105. It would be this equipment. Okay, so this one is basically the heat exchanger that we can see here in this figure, and we have to calculate what should be the area of this heat exchanger by using simple heuristics. Okay, now what we can do here, we have to consider table 11.11, which is about the heat exchangers. So let's see that table 11.11. Now let's see what we have here, heuristics for the heat exchangers. So the rule number 1, set F equal to 0.9. Now from the rule number 1, for conservative estimate, set F, which is the correction factor for shell and tube exchangers with no phase changes, and the Q, it would be equal to UA F delta T Lm. When delta T at exchanger ends differ greatly, then check F, reconfigure if F is less than 0.85. Now from the first heuristics, we are provided with the equation that we can use to estimate the heat, and we are provided with the equation, the value for this correction factor. So for the rule number 1, set f equal to 0.9 from the first rule. Then rule number 6, minimum delta T. Rule number 6, minimum temperature approach is 10 degrees C for fluids and 5 degrees C for refrigerants. Okay. Now what is this minimum temperature approach? If you have studied the heat transfer, you know, like it is basically the difference of the outlet stream of the hot stream and the inlet stream of the cold stream. Okay, so that's how you can calculate the approach temperature. Then the rule number 7, water enters at 30 degrees C and leaves at 40 degrees C. So the heat exchanger that we are talking about in the example, it is basically water cooled. So we have seen the heuristics, it can be 30 degrees C for the entrance, and outlet it can be 40 degrees C. Cooling water inlet is 30 degree and maximum outlet is 45. So it can be like a change between 30 and 40 degrees C. Okay. Now rule number 8 here, heat transfer coefficients for estimating purposes. Yeah, these are the units. Water to liquid 850, condensers 850, liquid to liquid, liquid to gas, and gas to gas. So depending on the combination that you can see here, you can find different heat transfer coefficients. And then maximum flux in the reboiler, it can be this one. When phase change occurs, use a zoned analysis with appropriate coefficient for each zone. Okay, now these are some of the more details, but for our case we are dealing with the water cooled heat exchanger. So the value for the water to liquid, it can be 850 watt per meter square degree centigrade. Now we note immediately from table 1.5 and figure 1.5 that rule number 6 has been violated because delta T minimum, it is equal to 8 degrees C. Now there is a violation from the figure and the table. What we see from the table here, you would see the temperatures. Let's see the temperatures here. Okay, so the stream that is coming here, it is 15 number stream, and this one is maybe the 14. And if you look at the numbers here, for the 14th stream, the temperature is 112, and it is being cooled with the stream number the cooling water. So the entrance of this cooling water, it is at 30 degrees C. So if you make the diagram for the heat exchange, the hot stream, it is being cooled from 112 to 38 degrees centigrade, and the cold stream, it is being heated from 30 to 40 degrees centigrade. If you take the difference of the inlet temperature of the cold stream and outlet temperature of the hot stream, it is equal to 8 degrees centigrade. However, what we have supposed earlier, that the temperature approach, it should be 10 degrees centigrade. So it is a violation of the rule that we have considered earlier. For the moment, ignore this and return to the heuristic analysis. Now we have to estimate what is the LMTD, log mean temperature difference. So what is an equation for this thing? There is some mistake here. So it should be the difference between the inlet of the hot stream and the outlet of the cold stream. So 112 minus 40 minus 38 minus 30, and then divided with the log of 112 minus 40. Okay. So this is some of the mistake here. So you can see this one, and the LMTD temperature that you can find from here, it is 27.2 degrees centigrade. Now from here you can use the heat equation. It would be equal to from table 1.7. If I take you to table 1.7, yes. So the heat exchanger name is E105. So you can see this one name here, E105. And in this table you can see that what should be the value for the heat. It is go down a little bit, side duty. Okay, so this one is side duty, that is written here 1085. So we can write this one, and then we can convert this one into the kilowatt. So it is equal to 301 kilowatt. And the area for the heat exchanger, you can simply use the heat equation, that is equal to Q divided by UA delta Tm Lm, and then the correction factor. So you can solve this equation to get the value for the area. Now from the rule number 9 and from the table 11.11, this heat exchanger should be a double pipe or multiple pipe design. Comparing our analysis with the information in the table 1.7, we get heuristics, double pipe design. The area, it can be 14.5 meter square, and then you can get like this area that we have already calculated from here from the heuristics. Okay, and then from the table 1.7, what we see here, the area for this heat exchanger, it is equal to 12 meter per second, 12 meter square. Okay, so we can see that there is a difference here between the areas. It is only 2 meter square difference, so which is ignorable. Okay, so what we have seen here, that we can actually use these heuristics to calculate the area for the heat exchanger by using some simple formulas without doing any detailed heat transfer calculations. Okay, so you can see the difference here, it is only 2.5, so we can have a good estimate from the heuristics.